awesome. Okay, back up a little bit, make sure my mic is on. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on this Sunday. If you're starting to tune in, we'll kind of chat for a little bit before we get started, just so to give other people the opportunity to tune in as well. But my name is Megan, and today we're going, and this is my MJ, my assistant, my follower, my MJ. And today we're going to be talking about how to get onto the dance floor. So last year in July, I did a video on some tips and tricks and different things that you can do in your dance. And in that video, we talked about a dip specifically. That's typically the way that you would end a first dance. It's a really good picture moment. You can end a first dance a couple of other ways, but the dip is kind of the classic. So we're going to today talk about how to get on the dance floor. So when you are either walking in and it's the first thing that you're doing, or if this is after dinner and you are near the dance floor, we'll talk about a couple different ways to kind of get on the floor and get into your dance position so that you're ready to go. But like I said, my name is Megan and this is MJ, and I'm going to be leading today and MJ is going to be following. Since I'm going to be leading, I'm going to be initiating all of these steps. So if you are at home and you are trying to decide who's leader and follower, leader is going to be initiating all the steps and the follower will be doing a majority of the turning today. So if you also are comfortable with turning, feel free to take on the follower role. So we are also located in Chicago, Illinois, so if you are tuning in from somewhere else, please let us know where you're tuning in from. But yeah, it's a nice day. It's very sunny. As you can see, we're both kind of squinting. So it's a very nice day in Chicago. It's albeit very cold, but we're glad to see the sun. So if you're somewhere where it's warm or somewhere where the sunshine is, let us know so we can plan our next vacation. So yes, we'll go ahead and get started with a very simple way to get on the floor. Pretty much just walking in and getting into our dance position. So if I'm the leader, I'm going to start on the left-hand side of the dance floor. I'm going to have my follower on my right-hand side. And I'm going to hold out my right hand and have my follower place their left hand in my right hand. And so if we don't have a lot of time, if your song starts immediately and whoever the artist is immediately singing, or you just don't want to have a whole lot of time at the beginning, you just want to get in and start dancing, this is going to be the most simple one. We're going to work our way up as far as difficulty goes. So super simple. We're just going to walk onto the dance floor. And don't worry about which foot you should be using. Just go ahead and walk like you normally would, get to the center of the floor. And then leader, I'm going to stop moving my feet. And I'm just going to let my follower keep going around me. And then for the most simple, I'm just going to get into my dance frame. So when my follower comes around, I'm just grabbing with my left hand, bringing my follower into my dance frame, and then we are ready to go. We'll go ahead and do this from another angle just because I have a couple details for you. So again, leader on the left, follower on the right-hand side. We're going to walk in. And then leader, once you hit the center of the floor, go ahead and stop moving. So now you'll notice here how MJ and I are not close like this. We are actually a little further away. Our elbows are more extended. This is going to give this a nice flow. If we're really crunched into each other, it's really going to kind of look awkward and clunky. So when I'm bringing MJ around, I want to make sure I'm keeping my elbow extended. And same thing for my follower. You want to keep your elbow extended as well, because if you're kind of curling in on yourself, then you're going to wrap around and be like right in front of your leader. And again, it's just not going to be as smooth as it could be. So you want to make sure that we are extending and walking all the way around, creating a big circle. And then leader, I'm just giving a little pull, offering my left hand, and then we're getting into our dance frame. Now, if you're trying this at home and you're like, okay, super easy, whatever. What if we want to do something similar timing-wise, but we want to add a little level of difficulty? We're going to add a little inside turn. So this is going to take up the same amount of time. You could extend it into longer if you have a little bit of a longer intro, but this is also supposed to just be short, sweet, get you onto the floor and get you moving. So we'll do the same thing where leader is going to be on the left, follower is going to be on the right, and leader, you're going to pretty much be doing the same thing with your feet. We're going to walk in together. You're going to stop moving your feet when you're in the center, let your follower go around. But this time when I offer my left hand, I'm drawing a counterclockwise circle over my follower's head, and then we can get into our dance frame. And I would say MJ, you can agree or disagree, this is probably the most common way that we teach to get on the floor because it is very simple, but it has that extra spin for a little extra, you know, pizzazz. That way it's not just walking onto the floor and getting into frame. You have a little something extra, so this is a very common way to do it, and I would say still pretty simple, still very, very beginner friendly. So let's go ahead and break that down just a little bit. For my leader, when you're walking in, again, your footwork is going to be exactly the same. You're going to stop moving once you hit the center of the floor, bring your follower around, keep that elbow extended. When my follower is in front of me though, you don't want to reach over like this. You want to make sure your follower is directly in front of you. We're square, our shoulders are square to each other. I'm offering my left hand. I'm going to draw a counterclockwise circle up and over my follower's head, and then I can engage into the dance frame. And a couple things about this turn, I really want to keep my hand low, so I don't want to draw my circle way up here because that's going to make my follower feel a little wobbly. So I want to draw this right over my follower's head, and I also want to make sure that I'm not going to the outside because my follower's momentum is already coming around this way. So I want to continue that momentum by going counterclockwise. So I'll go into a little more detail with this too, with the follower's footwork. So when I'm bringing MJ around, I want to, again, keep that momentum moving. So MJ's going to look over her left shoulder and take little steps in place to go over into that turn and then into our dance frame. So again, when you're following this, you want to think about, I like to think about this like I'm drawing a seashell with my feet, how it's a big circle and then you start to get into a littler circle right before you are in your dance frame. So as you're going around, I'm actually going to do this from a different angle just so everyone can see. So as I'm walking around, if I'm following, I'm walking in my little half circle right here. Once I meet my leader, I'm going, again, drawing that smaller circle right in front of my leader, and then we can get into that dance frame. So just picture, draw that seashell with your feet. If you have questions about this, if you're watching at home and you're like, go over that one more time, please. Please clarify any details. Just let us know in the comments. But we also can add onto this and make these, make an intro a little bit longer. So if your song has a couple eights before the artist starts singing, or if you just really want to, you know, put on a little bit of a show, make this a little more of a picture moment, we have some things that we can add onto this to make it a little bit more exciting. So we'll go ahead and start the same way, leader on the left, follower on the right, just to, you know, keep things simple, keep it easy. But this time when we come around, instead of just doing a turn and getting in frame, we're going to get into what we call the cradle position. We can stay here for a second. Again, a great picture moment. I'm going to roll my follower out, and then we can get into our dance frame. Either just into our dance frame, or you can also add that inside turn that we did before. But let's talk a little bit about this cradle. Let's break it down so you can kind of add this into the mix if you'd like. So with this cradle, when I'm, as a leader, when I'm initiating this, it's going to be similar to that inside turn. However, I'm not letting go with my right hand. So when we're getting to the center of the dance floor, I'm bringing MJ around, grabbing with the left hand, drawing that counterclockwise circle up and over her head, but I still have her hand. So I still have the other hand as well in my right hand. So then we can hold here for a second if we'd like to. We'll add on to this also a little bit later. But for now, we're just going to hold here. And then with my left hand, I'm going to let go. And then I'm just going to give a little tug and let MJ roll out. So we're in a side-by-side position again. And then from here, you can repeat that, bringing your follower around. Then you could add that inside turn if you wanted to, or you could just walk into frame like we just did before this. So we kind of are adding that little cradle in the middle just to give it a little extra something. But it can truly be dropped right into the middle, and then you can keep doing everything else the same. And something else for my leader, you'll notice that my feet were not moving at all during that, which is kind of nice because then all you have to focus on is your arms. Don't worry about your feet. You also want to make sure that where you are on the dance floor works for the style of dance that you're doing. So if we were doing something that traveled, maybe don't walk all the way to the center of the dance floor. Maybe walk in a couple of steps and then stop moving your feet. But if we're doing something that doesn't really travel a whole lot, like swing or salsa or something, feel free to walk all the way to the middle of the floor. Okay, so let's talk about the follower's footwork in the cradle. So follower, it's pretty much the same as far as going around, even getting in front of your leader. You want to make sure you're square. and then you're gonna take a step towards your leader and get into this cradle position. So instead of stepping or turning in place right underneath yourself, you're gonna be walking towards your leader to get into this position. From here, when you're taking this turn out, you're gonna start on that right foot. So right foot is gonna go right, and then you're gonna go left, and then right. And something that you'll notice is how small MJ's steps were. If you take really big steps, we're gonna get super far away and we're gonna be stretching, which is not a cute look, especially not starting your first dance. So you wanna make sure that you're keeping your steps really small, and then once we are in this side-by-side position, feel free to put that weight on the right foot. And leader, feel free to put the weight on the left foot too, just because it gives us a nice line and it makes us look nice and uniform as well. And then from here, follower, everything is going to be the same. If you're doing that left turn, again, that's going to be right in place. And then we can get into our dance frame. Right. So we're going to add a little layer onto this, and then we're going to do something I shouldn't say completely different. It's going to be very similar, but we're going to do something a little bit different. But we're going to add onto this first by adding a lean into that cradle. And so when we're doing that cradle, instead of just pausing here and then rolling out, we're actually going to do a little lean, come up, roll out. And the lean was in the video that I referenced earlier, which was the dips and tricks and things like that. So if you want more, we'll kind of run over it today, but if you want even more detail, go ahead and head to that video because that one will have the most detail for you. But this one, we're going to come in, just like we did before, we're gonna get into that cradle. So I have my follower on my right-hand side. We can pause for a moment, make sure we're set, and then we can do a little lean. Come up, and then roll out, and then come around, and then either do that turn or just get into our dance frame, whatever works best for you. So let's talk just a little bit about this lean. So once we're in this cradle position and we're kind of secure, for my leader, you're just gonna take a little slide out to the left-hand side. So left leg is coming out, you want to slide and then bend. And you wanna make sure that you're keeping your hip out. So you do not wanna sink in like you're lunging, like you're at the gym. You wanna keep this hip available for your follower. You wanna create the most surface area that you possibly can. So that also means not rolling your shoulders forward or hunching like this. It can be tempting to go like this, trying to look at your follower, but you really wanna roll your shoulders back. And then if you wanna look at your follower, you can rotate your upper body a little bit. So that way they even have this surface area as well. And you can connect more on your obliques than right here on your side or under your armpit. It's gonna feel a little bit more comfortable. So really try to roll those shoulders back, and if you wanna look at your follower, just roll your body a little bit. For my follower, this is gonna be a little bit of a trust fall. So when you're in this cradle position, you wanna make sure that you are leaning with your hip and not your upper body. Because if you lean with your upper body, you're gonna feel really unstable. You wanna stay connected from your belly button down to the floor. So you wanna make sure your foot is really close to your leaders, and you also wanna make sure your hip is connecting. So when you lead, you can kind of almost pop that hip out a little bit. Make sure to keep your shoulders nice and rolled back as well. And in the previous video, we talked a little bit about foot positions too. You can either keep it down here, or you can bring it up, or you can also send it out to the side. If you're wearing something that you would like to kind of show off, I think out to the side is really pretty. But if you're wearing something that's a little tighter, it might be nice to just bring that foot in. So let's go ahead and do this whole thing again. I'm actually gonna do this from a different angle so you can see from the back. Oh, we'll wait for the sirens to finish. All right, so we're gonna take like 2 steps in, then I'm gonna bring MJ in front of me. We're gonna get into that cradle position. And then once we're here, make sure that we're set. Make sure we have our shoulders rolled back, engaging our core. We're getting into that lean. And then we're gonna roll our partner out. And then we're gonna come all the way around and get into our dance frame. Nice. Yeah, thanks, MJ. Thanks for trusting me. So, like I said, this is a little bit of a trust exercise for my followers. So if you're getting into this and you're having a little bit of hesitation, maybe try it with the wall first. Just take any old wall in your house, at the gym, wherever, and just kind of press your hip up against it. So you can kind of think about this, even letting your foot go out from the wall a little bit and really trying to connect with your hip more so than your upper body. Your upper body will still connect just kind of naturally, but you want to mostly focus on connecting with your hip. because that's where you're going to get the most support from your leader, hoping that they are providing that hip for you to lean on. So if you have any questions about the lean at all, just let us know. Just because we did do, like I said, that in a little more detail in a previous video, and so if you need any more detail in this video, I'm happy to provide it. Just let me know. Feel free to ask any questions that you have. But we are going to do one more intro, and this is going to be for those long intros, the ones that just never end, the ones that you're just like, they really are taking their time to get into this dance. An example of this might be At Last by Etta James. There's a really long intro to get into that. You just kind of, she doesn't hit the ground running. She really lets the music play for a while. Beautiful first dance song. We have so many of those. So this is maybe something that you would want to do with that. So for my leader, you can, again, just kind of stay in place, but if your follower especially has like a big dress that they're trying to show off or something like that, we're gonna kind of lasso our partner around our head, and then we can go through the motions of that cradle, lean, whatever you wanna do. You can kind of pick and choose what you like from this, just because it all does flow together, but if you don't like the lean, cut the lean. Don't like the cradle, just do the spin, totally fine. But again, if you have a lot of time, we're trying to kill some time here, we can walk onto the floor. Leader, once you get to the center, go ahead and stop moving. Bring your follower around, keep going. This hand can either go above your head or around your waist, which I'll show you in a second. Once we're in this side-by-side position again, bring your follower in, and then you can either do that turn, you can do that cradle, that lean, anything else. So we're eating up time right now. We're trying to kind of really take our time, getting around, show off our dress if we're wearing a dress, and just, yes, wave to all your adoring fans. And just really take up a lot of that time at the beginning, especially because if you're doing a little bit of a shorter song, you don't want to cut out any of that intro. You really want to keep that in there. It's just a fun way to get onto the floor. If you would prefer not to go over your head, or if there's a little bit of a height difference between you and your partner that's a little unavoidable, leader, you can bring your follower around and you could wrap at either the shoulder or you could wrap at the waist. I'm going to wrap at the shoulder and let my follower kind of drag along. Then we can come back around and get through. You can also do that with your waist as well. Whatever you want to do, whatever suits you, you feel suits you. So those are all the different ways that, I mean, there are so many more ways that you can get on the dance floor, but those are kind of some of our staples, some of our go-tos, some of the things that when we have couples who come in and they're looking for something really simple, that's something that we offer quite frequently just because they are very beginner friendly and they're a lot of fun, and you have varying levels of difficulty. If you want to just come in and get into frame, totally fine. If you want to do the whole walk around and then just get into frame, also totally fine, but you can add some of the bells and whistles to really set it apart and make it a little more fun for you and your partner. So again, let us know if you have any questions about any of that. We'd be happy to break down any of that for you. But let's go ahead and try this with music, actually. Let's just do some of the examples. We'll kind of run through without stopping. Just keep going and do a couple of these in a row, just so you can kind of see. Let's see, what do I want to do? last minute tips for everyone watching at home. So the song that I just played was a little more upbeat. If you have a slower song, feel free to take your time, really let one thing kind of bleed into the next. This one was a little more fun, so if you want to do any like quick hits or anything like that, you can do that when you're getting into your cradle position, when you're getting into your spin. If you are trying to listen for where the song starts or where the artist starts singing or where you want to start dancing, my recommendation would be for my leader, as soon as you stop moving your feet, try to find where the beat is in the music. That way when you're turning your partner, if you don't have a lot of time, you can turn a little bit quicker, make this more of a 7, 8, and then get in there. Or if you have a lot of time, you can be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, give your partner a slow 5, 6, 7, 8. So for my leader, if it's when it's going to be the most convenient for you to start counting once your feet stop moving, because then you'll be ahead of it, as opposed to starting counting once you're in your dance frame, because then you're going to have that awkward moment where you're standing on the floor and you're like 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, now we go. So you want to make sure that you're counting before that. So like I said before, I would recommend starting when you stop moving your feet. That way when you're bringing your partner around, you know where you are in the music, so you know how long you have for each element, whatever you'd like to add, the cradle, the lean, whatever, you know how long you have for those things. You could also just time it out with the music. So if you do have a song that's a little bit longer, make sure you count it out either at home, or you can also reach out to us and say like, how many 8 counts are in, whatever song you're doing for your first dance, and we'd be happy to help you with that too. Please feel free to reach out to us at any point if you have any questions about your music, how to get onto the floor, anything like that. You can find us on weddingdancelessons.com, or you can find us on duetdancestudio.com. And yeah, reach out to us if you have any questions, or you can also comment on this YouTube video or any of our past YouTube videos. We would love to hear your thoughts, and if you have any song requests for our online program. If you're tuning in, hopefully you've seen some of our videos on the online program. MJ and I are the followers in most of those videos, so go ahead and go check those out if you haven't seen them. We have some fun holiday ones that just premiered. So if you're getting married around this time next year, maybe think about doing a little holiday-themed first dance. There are a lot of great options out there for romantic songs that are holiday-themed, so go check those out. And again, reach out to us if you have any questions, and thank you so much for tuning in today.